Hello, I'm X Toycat, and when I tell people I've been playing on this same Minecraft world since 2012, I get a lot of strange reactions, but the most common one is, why didn't you just start a new world? Why have you been playing on the same world for 8 years? I mean, for God's sake, you have a minecart system, even though you know how terribly inefficient that is, why would you not abandon your world, Toycat? And my response is, why would you? It seems sarcastic, but I have the response of, why wouldn't you play the same world for so many months or years? Why would you bother resetting your progress so often? And let me make the case for why you shouldn't abandon your worlds with this video, because sure, it's fun to start again, it's fun to start from scratch, but what I also think is fun is being in the same world and starting to appreciate, some things that you can really only get after years and years of play. So let's start with the arguments. And I think it's important to start by acknowledging I know why and how people abandon worlds. I mean, if you look at just the Bedrock version on Windows 10 that I have installed right here, I have 697 worlds. Some of those are genuine survival attempts I've made a long time ago. Some of those are seed searches, but still, I understand the appeal that comes with a brand new world, and I even have a whole series on this channel talking about how if you're going to start a new long-term world, these are some great seeds to do so, and that's why I have so many worlds. Before we even start to consider the fact that, yeah, if we look at the Xbox One, there's another 74 worlds, and then on this version of the game you don't get a number of worlds shown, but as you can see, we can scroll and we can scroll and we can scroll, and we're not going to reach the bottom for some time here, but you can see that I am no stranger to abandoning worlds. It's not that I don't understand the appeal of doing so, especially when we can go in here and we can see worlds that I played as early as May 2012. This is a world I played in that time and then I never came back to. Actually, I came back to it once to complete the game afterwards, but like there is an appeal to keeping old worlds, because if we look at this, for example, this is one of the very first worlds I ever started. I get nostalgia every time I see it because it's a world that I played like all night, one of the first few nights that Minecraft came out for the Xbox 360. I played it actually with, someone called Kung Fu Fluffable. We played all night together. There's like some nostalgia in this world, not just off, this whole thing, but also of playing with someone that I've tried to track down since, never spoke to him after this moment. He taught me a lot of things about Minecraft, including how, like minecarts and rails and stuff like that worked. I think he watched some videos maybe, but you can see like, oh yeah, I made my first ever minecart rail here. Being able to look back at that is great. If I was playing this world still, I probably would have removed all the dirt because I mean, I want the rails back. Also, it's so ugly if you look at the direction that it took. Again, I was going for like half roller coaster, half transport. Why did I do that? You can see my first ever nether portal surrounded by glass, mostly for some reason. You can see my first ever house. It's all very ugly, but it's still charming to look back at this, and it's something you'd lose if you were keeping the same world, right? Not only would you lose it, but also you'd want to remove these things, and it would take time to remove that. Why not just instead start a new world every time you get bored? And although I'm sure, from an efficiency standpoint, you can make arguments on both sides. It's either better to start a new world every time you want a new build, or it's better to keep the existing one. But personally, I think worlds aren't meant to be about a single build. I think that having the history in there is something you can do while still keeping your world. So let me make the counterpoint now, because sure, I like nostalgia. I want to keep this world preserved in time forever, except actually I played it through again recently just to defeat the Ender Dragon on an old world, see how that went. That was a fun video. And actually it's fun to go through and like check how things like the Nether are. It will never not shock me how weird the old Nether used to look, right? Like, it's so weird. And even back then I had Nether tunnels, it seems, as you can see. But, even though you can look through all of this, oh God. Even though there is a nostalgia that you get from old worlds, I don't think that's something that you necessarily have to remove by keeping a world. I think the biggest reason to abandon a world is because it's easy and you want to, and then combine that with nostalgia and you've got a really compelling case. But if we actually look at my world, for instance, you can see that many of my older builds are still alive and well. Some of them have been altered very slightly. So if you look at my house, for instance, I built this in 2012. I tried to build like a pictogram of what a house would be. So it's just a big, like what a child would draw for a house. So it's a big square house with 4 windows with a roof deliberately designed like that. I think it's, cute personally. 0 people agree with me, but you can see how I added windowsills to the house. Like, oh, isn't that fun? Having little flowers on there as well. You can see how I've made a few changes, like, oh, I put some, different things in the garden, and I added a chicken farm back there. Very slight changes have been made to the builds over time, but it's still recognizable as that old build. If we take a look at this giant mushroom house over here, you can see how, like, oh yeah, it's the same thing I built because I was like, oh yeah, there's 3 types of wood. What if we use the 2 wacky types? Because at the time, spruce and birch felt fairly new. In terms of planks. It's weird that even as late as 2013, getting new planks felt like it was new, but you can see how this felt quirky and different at the time. Now it just looks like a weird It almost feels like it should be made out of wood or something, or it looks like an optical illusion. But you can see how I repurposed it as the spawn point in my world, where I give people some stuff if they want to explore, or some food and compasses to get places. It's mostly for marketplace purposes. I never invite anyone to this world. But if I did want to invite people to this world, I would be such a great host, right? Because I'd be giving them all the stuff. And yeah, by making small changes to things, I've even got a book back here for those of you who download this map, by the way. Wow, you can learn all about it. But you know, like I have this, you know, like this attitude of like, yeah, we can change things over time. We can keep the historic value, but also we can remove the things that no one's going to miss. I mean, one of the things that's going to be gone soon is this lava pit right here. All the lava is slowly going to be drained out. I mean, even now, you can see how much lava is missing from this area. Another example is like this dirt house. At some point, this dirt house will be destroyed. It's just a big mound of dirt that for some reason I live in. I genuinely can't tell you why. It's not something anyone's actually going to actively miss, right? And as a result, like removing and replacing these things is a good idea. I think that you can keep the nostalgia value off an old world while also having the you know, like the ability to update and change it. But what about like freshness? What about if you can't stand a world anymore, you want something new? What do you do then? And here is my counter argument to that. So behind my Nether mountain on the other side of the wall, back in 2014, I decided I was going to start a brand new world, but rather than starting a brand new world, I just moved a few hundred blocks away from the rest of my world and started again from scratch. I felt like I was doing it all from the bare beginning again. I mean, I had to make myself a wooden pickaxe, then the start. You know, I had to start all the tech tree stuff again, and then I made myself a little city. I've always wanted to do a city build in Minecraft, but it just didn't fit with the rest of my world. I mean, did you see all that other stuff? It wouldn't fit in a city, so I tried to make myself a little city right here. Whether I succeeded or not in that is entirely up to your own interpretation. I mean, I've got these little market stands. I've got a giant Nether blacksmith that I still don't know where I was really going with this. It was meant to be like a blast forge before blast forges, but like you can see how like, oh yeah, there's some interesting things around here. Look at this village house that's just deliberately scaled up. This little cat post, as well as giant brewing stands, skyscrapers and stuff. You know, there's a lot of confused builds here, but it proves that you can just go to a different part of your own world and start building again from scratch. This looks like an entirely different Minecraft world, does it not? With entirely different builds, different building style. I kind of just started Minecraft again effectively, but by doing it in the same world, you get this fun thing where you can link those two settlements together. In fact, if you look at any successful survival multiplayer server, this is what the users are doing. You'll see how one person has their builds, and then not so far away, someone else has theirs, and then you can slowly integrate them together, or you can leave them separate, and that's what we can do with this world. We can integrate this with the, you know, like here's a classic build that people love to look at, right? Like, you can integrate things like this if you want to into the rest of your world, or you can leave them separate entirely. That's what I've chose to do right here. There's a bridge over here that takes it close to the mainland, but there's always a big wall that denotes this is the end of like the city land. This is the end of, it was actually TU31 in case you're curious, but this was the end of the 1.7 update where I was playing around with new blocks like diorite and the new wood types and stuff. And this is the old world where I'd still do the same weird, bizarre, maybe insane projects like covering an entire desert in torches and then building a desert temple. This is where you see things like the museum where I have one of every painting and one of every block that existed as of 1.14 outside. Fun fact, there's not as many as you'd assume, right? I guess now there is. Like, this is only full solid blocks, but doing these sorts of weird projects, keeping these things, oh look, here's all the 1.16 blocks of 1.16 behind it. You can have things fit or merge as much as you like in your world, but you can also have them not. You can go thousands of blocks away to build something if you think it doesn't fit with the rest of your world, or you can keep everything in the same area. As you can see, right here is kind of that same city vibe, just with things that I wanted to build. There's my ugly house. There is my blast furnace that has a chest inside of it. Here is my bank of toy cat. Here is my armory. There is my giant creeper farm that looks like a Death Star that I didn't finish and then I did. Being able to come back and work on anything you want to in different parts of the world gives you more reasons to play Minecraft, not less. I know a lot of people, they have inspirations to do things in big surges where it's like, I want to do this thing right here, right now. But the truth is, working on things in like a, you know, sometimes when you have big motivation, but sometimes just being disciplined enough to be like, yeah, let's play some Minecraft. I'm gonna work on something, I don't know what yet, but we'll kind of like find a thing. That's where I've had fun playing Minecraft, and it's led to a very bizarre Let's Play series. You know, this is obviously I've recorded every week, something I've done in this world. It's led to a very bizarre Let's Play world where like, obviously, there's lots of different things that don't necessarily merge together so well. There's lots of even different styles of things. So for instance, here is a giant bed. Here is a giant mine that I made below ground just because I wanted to stretch Minecraft's render distance to its edge. So you can see it's just a black hole going down there. Whoa, so spooky. Here is a guardian I made out of stone, kind of like in the tutorial worlds. Here is a wood farm. And then for whatever reason, next to that, I mean, I guess I know the reason. It was because I was celebrating crawling. You can see there's a mountain that just has holes poked into it like this. These things arguably don't fit with each other in the slightest. This is arguably the ugliest world out there. And to a lot of people that's true, but also I'm distinctly making something that represents me. It represents my creativity. And although that's changed a lot over the years, being able to keep it all in the same place, being able to look around and explore this whole thing, it's something I think is a lot of fun. In fact, a lot of people agree based on the fact that so many people still ask me to put this world, out there for download, as indeed I hope by the time this video goes live, you should be able to do on the marketplace. But you can start to see all the bizarre decisions that come together to make a uniquely beautiful Minecraft world. Anyone can make a world that just has a pretty house like that one YouTube tutorial that everyone's inspired by. But making a lot of things that fit together in any theme whatsoever, that's what can be fun. Playing Minecraft and building a house or a structure, that's interesting. Playing Minecraft and building a world, that's worth staying for. And that is my kind of big resounding point today. Leaving your Minecraft world behind in the moment is something a lot of players choose to do, and it's clearly something that has a lot of instinct in people, but I can also say that not abandoning your Minecraft world seems to lead to happier outcomes where people are more proud of their the things that they have built. I mean, if you built the great things like that pyramid from earlier in this video, wouldn't you be proud of that and want to look at it and see it regularly as opposed to think, oh yeah, let's load up that one world with that thing. I think it's cool to see your, not only your greatest things, but also your progress over time. It's cool to see the bizarre things you chose to build, whether it's a giant cobblestone cube, whether it's a, cocoa bean farm that you never quite got working and honestly don't care about enough to finish up and makes you realize that you shouldn't just start a thing without a distinct clear need for it, or whether it's a giant oil rig that you looked at and went, you know, there's something here, but it's just missing something key, and I never decided to do that. I mean, looking around and building things and trying to improve based on those is so much better and so much more gratifying, and that's why almost everyone that I speak to that decides to stop abandoning worlds, join the Never Abandon Your World movement, seems to have a much better time, and that is my goal of this video. It's not to encourage you to think like, oh yeah, people are worse if they abandon their worlds. Nope, you can play Minecraft however you want. But I think for you personally, even though it seems like in the moment that the thing you want to do most is the thing you need most in general, the truth is, when it comes to human beings of our complex, hard to understand, and not necessarily always logical and rational emotions, sometimes it's worth doing something, even when it's hard, because the things that are worth doing are not always easy. Sometimes they are deliberately hard, and that is what makes them the things worth doing. I think the, like having motivation to make a giant endstone cube, I mean, sure, that's a fun idea, but without the discipline to enjoy working on some things that you don't know if you want to halfway through, I think without being able to finish those, the things that were hard to make are much more fun and satisfying than the things that were easy, and that applies not just to individual builds. I mean, the amount of obsidian required to make a nether portal that looks like this, it's dumb. In fact, the entire build as a whole is dumb, but every time I look at it, I can't help but smile and think, yeah, that was a good use of my hour to place all of that, let alone the time required to mine it. That was a good use of my time. The insane sugarcane farm took years to finish, but now it's one of the most recognizable builds in the world, and I'll admit, it's one of the things I love to remind myself exists. It's one of the things that makes me go, yeah, you know what, Minecraft is a weird, confusing place, and there's lots of things you gotta do in it. But the cool thing is it's the game where no one can tell you what you can and cannot do, but sometimes it's just because no one else is telling you what you can and cannot do, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't tell yourself. Sometimes it's worth having that inner conversation about, oh yeah, what do I want to do? The reason setting goals works is because the things you want to do in the moment are not the same as the things you want to do in the space of a day, which is not the same as the things you want to do in a space of a year. And if you have 8 years worth of playing this beautiful game that we all share, this beautiful game we all love and have in common, then maybe it's worth considering how you want to play the game. Or maybe that's going too deep. I don't know. All I know is that I enjoy all the things I see around this world. I've enjoyed this last 20 minutes of talking, and even though I know that a lot of people won't, it's not going to be the most successful video ever because this is a very niche group of people I'm speaking to, and but I think because I think it's a message so important that it's worth sharing with you all anyway. I hope that you listen to this, and at the very least, you consider it. Again, how you play Minecraft is entirely up to you. I'm not going to tell you how you can and cannot play, but I think there is a beauty to deciding, yeah, and if I want to start again, I'll move to a different part of the world, because then you have lots of distinct little areas that you can choose to link together, and linking the things together is something I always say is a fun project. I think it's fun to say, I'm going to work on my world rather than starting a new one, because even though I'm in a little bit of a rut right now, I can work my way out of that rut. I think it's fun to say, you know what, I want to have a giant hole in the middle of my village. A pillager fell down there, huh? I want to have a giant hole in the middle of my village, and not because there's any great reason, but just because I think it would be interesting. And yeah, I like living in a world where that's the case, and maybe all of you do too. There's lots of projects that I failed and that I haven't finished, but as the years go on, that list gets shorter, although it also gets longer in a different way. But I think it's, I think sometimes working on things that are hard is worth the effort. We do things not because they're easy, but because they're hard. That's not even a quote I came up with. That's JFK. Wow. You're going to disagree with JFK now? Well, you can't. He's dead. It's rude to disagree with dead people, and that's why I will die on this hill that you should not abandon your Minecraft world. Thank you for watching this video. Wait, it'd be funny if I died literally on this hill, right? You know, am I willing to do that for the sake of the video? I'm not. Because I care about my world in the long run, and you would care about yours too if you didn't abandon it so much. So thank you for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, because I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye. See, I didn't die again, because I care about my experience and my stuff and my totem and dying and all of this sort of stuff. But yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye.